I'd like to call to order. Better say continue.
Yeah, you go.
I'd like to call to order the Law, Buildings and Codes Committee meeting of June 17th. Being present, myself, Joe Igo, Chairman, members of the committee, Sonia Frederick, who else? Oh, Kathy Fahey, Mike O'Brien, then also present, Kathy Fahey, Kelly Kimbrough, Richard Conti, and from the city staff, we have from the for law department, Robert McGee, and Rick LaJoy from the building department.
You also have Laura Golfo from Corporation Counsel as well.
Laura Golfo.
Mhm.
That's it from staff. And Owusu is on his way. So he asked if we could take up Kathy Fahey's piece first, which is, which one is yours, Kathy? 8? Kathy Fahey, yours is
Local law I.
local law I, okay. So at this time, we'd like to take up local law I. And Kathy, if you want to start with it, and I know there's some amendments that have been worked on. I don't know if it's for this one. And if that's the case, why don't we start with the people that drafted them? Rob, did
Joe,
you?
I'm having a little trouble hearing. But as far as amendments to local law I am not aware of any.
Okay.
You know, there were some concerns that were brought up, and I think we took the time to discuss a lot of those concerns.
Yeah.
And you know, it's good that we gave it this last few weeks for people to raise any other concerns that they may have. But I do think that this local law it really is going to make a difference in quality of life issues here in the city of Albany. You know, this the local law and the amendments that are made to the ROP program, the residential occupancy permit program, will help track program compliance and make it more useful to everyone who's involved. You know, some of the things that are being done in this piece of legislation are, I think, of great importance. I mean, one of the posting the ROP, I know there were some concerns about that, but you know, we're really trying to make a difference here so that when people go into you know, potentially rent a place, they want to know that it's up to code. And I think that's a necessity today. Yes, we have some great landlords in the city, but we also have people who aren't doing the job of making sure these properties are comply with the code. So I think we owe it to the folks who are considering renting a property to let them know that these properties are in good condition. One of the most important things that's being done is requiring you know, adequate information about the property owners so that the city can get in touch with them when there's any kind of you know, code issue. It's essential. And I over the years that I've been on the council, I don't know how many times I have heard, you know, we've done everything we can, but we cannot track down this property owner. That has to end. And this legislation will help with that by requiring you know, a copy of the license, the social security number or the EIN number, 2 emergency contact names. You know, we're going to be able to track down these property owners so that we can, you know, ensure that they're going to comply with the law. Lowering the, you know, how often people have to have their properties inspected, the rental properties inspected, lowering it to 24 months. I think that makes sense. Our city has to stay on top of these situations to make sure that you know, that they're code compliant. So it ends up being a slight increase because we're lowering the how often you know, they have to be re-inspected, but the price has not been raised in 9 years. So I think it's fair. The legislation also gives the chief building official the power to revoke an ROP for bad actors. I think that's necessary, especially when there's a health and safety situation. And, you know, people have brought up a lot of concerns, you know, the impact on our landlords who are doing a good job, but these are businesses for sure. And we want to make sure that, again, these properties are complying with the code.
Great, Kathy, thank you.
So anyway, I'm asking for everyone's support on this. And I should point out, and Rick LaJoy and I had a conversation this afternoon of some different efforts that they are going to undertake, because one of the issues that's been brought up is that, you know, there are so many rental properties that we aren't aware of and that aren't on, you know, they do not have an ROP. And I know this, the city is going to take steps to address that by, once we've passed this law, hopefully pass this law, the plan is to reach out to all property owners to let them know that they need to comply if they do rent out property. And, you know, hopefully we can get a much better handle on how many rental properties there actually are in the city and make sure they are all registered. Well, I'm happy to address any other issues that people might want to raise here, but I do think this is a piece of legislation. It's way overdue, and I'm just thrilled to be able to be the sponsor of this legislation. Thank you.
I'm going to start with the committee members first. If they have any questions, Michael Bryan, I see your hand up. Why don't you go first?
Okay. Yeah, I'm in agreement with it. I did have a couple of comments on the issue of my understanding is that the portion of the ROP or the information that gets publicly posted does not post everything that's, you know, all the information we have in the landlord. For example, his EIN number or social security number. I believe that there is a workaround that. I mean, obviously, the tenant doesn't need to know that. They do need to know the contact, and they do need to know that an RFP has been timely issued. So, but maybe Rick or Rob could address that. I'm quite sure we aren't posting stuff that shouldn't be posted about.
Mike, I'll let them respond to this, but looking over the legislation, you know, they left it broad enough so that they can decide what information is put on this posting. But
exactly, that's the way I understood it. And obviously, I don't think they're going to put social security numbers.
Rick or Rob, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, the information that's going to be on the publicly posted RFP is just what Mike described, which is the date it was issued, the date it expires. There's some information for the tenants about retaliation and tenant advocacy resources. And then there's the contact information selected by the landlord as the emergency contact information. That's the only information that would be on the ROP.
But then I had another question, and it doesn't directly relate to the legislation, but it relates to kind of the past history. I used to do a little bit of volunteering with legal aid and homeless veterans and landlord tenant. And I know it was not that uncommon to have an ROP that had expired. And of course, the courts would not in and of itself decide that violated any warranty of habitability. So I'm assuming since you're shortening the time, you have a good system in place for tracking them. You know, that's just something that came to my mind. I know there's probably, I can only imagine how many tens of thousands of ROPs you have to issue, you know, apartment by apartment. So I'm guessing you can assure us that there is a way of timely tracking this so that everybody, you know, the tenant knows that it hasn't expired. The landlord's given some kind of a timely way of knowing when it's needs to be renewed, that kind of stuff. And yeah, I didn't think the fees were exorbitant myself. I know it's a couple of landlords I think commented on that, but I don't know, what is it you charge for an ROP now? I don't remember it being a very high price.
Yeah, it's $50.
Yeah.
Yeah, $50 per unit.
Yeah, okay. So I guess you have a good system in place now for tracking them and notifying everybody a little bit ahead of time before they come due.
Yeah, it's the same system that's in place at 30 months as it will be for 24 months. So as they are expiring, we get in our tickler system, a notification letting us know they're expiring. And then we send out, again, currently, we don't send out reminders that, hey, it's going to expire, although we are going to reevaluate that and see if we have a way to do that automated with email. But we do send out the notice of violation stating it's expired, and then they have 35 days from receiving that to register it and schedule the inspection. So we constantly work with people. It's not going to change anything in that respect.
There's a hope too that by publicly posting the ROP with the expiration date, the property manager or the building owner is going to know or be more cognizant of when the ROP expires.
Okay, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's good.
Any other committee members? Sonia?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm also supportive of this legislation. I think it's very much needed in the city, and thank you to the sponsor for bringing this forward. No questions on my part. More so, I do like the comment about making sure that there's a reach out to all property owners when this is passed, because I do think there's potentially some knowledge barriers or some gaps in terms of what exactly do I as a good landlord need to do with the city in terms of making sure that everything's up to date. So I like that that's going to happen, and yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. Rick, I have one question. How are you tracking single-family homes if they're rentals? Are you?
So-
It's difficult to do, but I know there's more and more of them.
Yep. Well, tracking is the same procedure. In other words, as any single family home that has registered in the past, we get a notification that it's going to expire. It's the ones that are currently homeowner occupied that then get rented out
That's-
that are more problematic catching, but we're aggressively looking at these things. We track police calls that are tenant landlord disputes, and we're able to identify quite a few of them that way.
I
So,
think that has to happen because there's more and more, I mean,
correct.
Parents die and the kids are selling, trying to hold on to them for a little while. I see a lot of that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other council members that would like to ask any questions? Kelly or who else? Richard? No? Okay.
Joe?
Yeah.
Joe, I don't know, I just wanted to point out a typo in the legislation. I don't know if Rob, you caught it. It's a typo that's on chapter 231-135, subsection B, number 2I. That last phrase, conditions no longer obtain. I wondered if that should be remain. Was that changed?
No. Yeah, we did intend to use the word obtain, but I think.
Oh, you do?
Remain is clearer. So.
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I would
I
agree with
guess
that.
I didn't get that. Okay, thank you.
Also present with us right now are Ginny Farrell and Wusu, who is a member of the committee. So I don't know if anyone wants to speak. Are you all set on this before we go to public comment?
Yeah, I just want to, hello? Yeah, I just want to commend the sponsor and also just thank the administration, everyone who was involved in bringing this legislation to the forefront. Again, urban blight is a disease that impacts many communities all across our country, and City of Albany is not unique. And these are proactive measures to address the disease. Some of the bad actors in our city who are just not being really responsive to tenants or being as responsive to the neighborhood. Overall, I think this is a step in the right direction. Property owners have an obligation, not just to their stakeholders or to their mortgage lenders, they also have an obligation to the community that their properties reside. So I just want to thank the sponsor and also the administration, everyone who was involved in making sure that we pass this legislation. Thank you.
Now we have two members of the public. If they'd like to comment, I'll start with Maria Markovich. Do you have anything to add? Maria, you're muted.
Hi. Yes, I just want to say Housing for All really strongly supports this legislation, and we thank the city and Kathy Fahey for her sponsorship. We really think it'll make a difference, you know, in the quality of housing in the neighborhood, and having an effective monitoring system in place hopefully will help to curb abandonment. And the particularly like that you know, having some kind of public posting of this will mean that, you know, tenants, when they go looking for apartments, will know whether it has an ROP. It will, you know, it's always been a problem. How do you contact somebody in an emergency, or information on the landlord? This really, really, I think, will make a difference. So thank you all for putting this together.
Thank you, Maria. Marcia Miller is the next that would like to speak. Marshall?
Great, thank you. I'm sorry to be joining you from the car. This is a family trip, but I really appreciate these meetings, and the conversation at the last meeting seemed really productive, and this one too. I appreciate the comments so far. It seems like there are a few more details to be worked out, although maybe this is more a sort of a administrative thing to think through. One is just the being thoughtful in terms of revealing phone numbers. I know there was discussion about that at the last meeting in terms of putting them on the back of the ROP, which I thought was a really good idea, and something to seriously consider once this gets implemented. And then my other concern, I continue to be concerned about emergency contacts having to be publicly listed. It seems like sort of the thing to figure out moving forward with this is what information is on file and codes that can be accessed, what information first responders can get easy access to, what information tenants have, and what information anybody who sort of goes to the building and happens to see the ROP has. So I think that's, you know, maybe that's a sort of future discussion as this gets implemented, but I would appreciate everyone keeping in mind the comments of the last meeting where it seems like there was just general agreement that phone numbers, particularly for emergency contacts, didn't need to be on the front of the ROP for everyone to see. I appreciate Ms. Fahey's and other comments about onboarding the other additional ROPs, additional buildings that don't yet have ROPs. And I just want to put out there, in addition to the letters that Mr. Majoy will send out, would be the opportunity for some sort of announcement made with the mayor or with various common council members, seeing this as a really positive thing where you're getting more units in your neighborhood to have smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors, and more of a broad social marketing campaign in a way that's really positive, not shaming landlords who might not have been aware of the law, but framing it as a positive thing for the city that all of you are involved in terms of getting the word out. And I also just wanted to say, John O'Grady's idea that's been mentioned at several meetings of an ongoing, it's taken various forms that he's mentioned this, an advisory committee or opportunities for landlords and tenants to meet together. But I guess I want to express my continued interest in seeing opportunities there. I guess one thing along those lines would be an opportunity to discuss what the design of this ROP will ultimately look like, its sort of size, given the fact that it will be part of everybody's house, including single family homes. Tenants will have to hang this on the wall. And I realize this is a minor point, but it's just an opportunity for all of us to explore what could look really good, particularly something for both tenants and landlords at the point of pride. I know let's give out letter grades, and I realize this is a pass-fail system, but it wouldn't hurt to have, you know, a big A on there. And I realize I'm not saying landlords need to get an A just for following the law, but I think the kind of thing that frames this as some sort of positive thing, as opposed to entirely focusing on negatives or deficits would be great. And I realize that may be beyond the scope of this meeting today, but it is something I'm, interested in opportunities to explore in the future in whatever form that may take. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any other comments on this piece of legislation from the? No? Okay, do I have any motions? Or further comments? Mike O'Brien? You're muted, Mike.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for a favorable recommendation for the draft of the local law as it's currently written.
I'll second that to make it easy. And do we have a call? Oh, Sonia, did you have something to say anymore? No?
No, I agree.
Okay. Well, I'd like to take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So that's 4-4. I don't know what Janik's. Okay, 4. I guess 4-0. Report out of committee with a favorable recommendation. Okay, now next, Mr. Owusu. Your local law H. You'd like to start off with that? You're looking to pass that tonight, and I believe there have been amendments done, Rob? Is that correct? Okay, maybe. Whoever wants to start with Owusu.
Yeah. First, I just want to thank everyone for getting this bill close to getting out of committee. What this piece of legislation is going to do is to avoid the common situation of having to declare a building unsafe or unfit due to an easily fixed violation, which can be cheaply or require a quick fix. This new law would empower building and codes after attempting to contact the property owner to fix a property or to give them an opportunity to repair. In a situation that the property owner is unable to repair the structure or the emergency, the city of Albany will hire an outside contractor and try to get the lowest bidder, fix the property, and then fix the situation and bill the property owner in the back end. As was mentioned earlier, urban blight is a disease that is plaguing our city and many other cities. And with our commissioner, Rick LaJoy, passing legislation and helping us come up with legislation as relates to giving emergency authority to look inside some of these abandoned vacant properties, that is a step in the right direction. And now with this legislation, we are going to be proactive and speaking with property owners who are sometimes having a fiscal challenge on making needed repairs. And this money is coming from the Attorney General's office, from the RISE program. And I believe we had $1 million. So for the property owners who are unable to fix their property, the city will contract out to help the individual make the needed repairs. Unsafe, unfit properties affect tenants. Very too often in these situations, when a property owner decides to take care of the property, the tenants are forced out because it's unsafe and uninhabitable, making the tenants homeless, costing that family, costing the property owner, costing the city, having an emergency contract for them to stay at a hotel, or in some cases, making them homeless. This is a proactive measure to make sure that we keep people in their homes, to not make mass homelessness out of this crisis. And I believe that the timing is so perfect because looking at what's happening due to the pandemic, so many families are back rent, months and months of back rent. And some landlords are going to use this as a tool if their property is unsafe to evict tenants. And this piece of legislation, when it's passed, is going to be a proactive measure to keep tenants in their home. I believe today is a great day, and I'm confident this legislation is going to address the quality of life in many of our neighborhoods. Like I said earlier, it's the owner's responsibility to this community and any community all across our city and to the shareholders to not allow their asset to sit idle, to deteriorate, to decay, lose value, and adversely impact the city of Albany. Inaction is not a choice. Our community needs all property owners and especially financial.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Taking a proactive measure and making sure that all their properties are taken care of. And lastly, I want to thank our Attorney General for awarding the City of Albany $1 million from the RISE grant. It's worth noting that Albany was among a few cities that were chosen to receive this funding. It's clear we received this funding because under the mayor's leadership, under the council's leadership, we have demonstrated a real commitment to move this city forward and address the urban blight that we see in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's start off before I forget. I'd like to thank Rob McGee and Rick LaJoy. I've been working with them and some had the building codes years ago, and you guys keep on top of it. And I'd like to thank you for it. I think made some big improvements in the years you two gentlemen have been handling this, and I thank you. Now, are there any committee members that would like to comment? Can people hear me? No?
I see Councilman O'Brien's hand up.
Okay, could you hear me, Danielle?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Go
We
ahead.
can hear you.
Yeah, I support the concept, particularly the fact that there's an ongoing violation to allow the city to correct it. And, you know, as Alusa said, put it on the back end. In other words, put it on the tax bill if the landlord doesn't
Okay,
reimburse the city. I think it's a good concept. On the face of it, I don't see any working problems. So I'm planning on supporting it.
great, Mike, thank you. Sonia?
Thank you. I support this as well. I think this piece, as well as the other piece that we were working on tonight, both critical towards moving our city forward and making sure our tenants are safe. I do think, you know, in my short term in office, I've seen this happen where landlords abuse the system and people have to go homeless and live in a hotel because they're not addressing the issues. So this is going to be very critical towards helping with that and making sure that people can stay in their homes and be safe in doing so.
Thank you. Any other committee members? And also you spoke. Jenny, I don't think is. Jenny?
I think it's a great piece of legislation and I appreciate the sponsors bringing it forward.
Thank you. I see Richard Conti's hands up.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. So I had sent some technical edits earlier, which I copied to Joe and I copied to Abusu also, to Rob. And I'm just, you know, I think they're technical and you should be able to incorporate those into this draft.
Okay, thank
Does
you.
that work? Okay. And then the other language that we had talked about, I don't know if you want to look at that again or maybe handle it separately, but I think it's something that needs to be done because it fell out of the 2017 USDO amendment.
What is that? Awusu, if you, are you
Yeah.
familiar with what he's talking about, Awusu?
Say it again.
Are you familiar with what Richard's talking about? He said something fell out of the legislation?
Yeah, I think it will have to be a separate.
We can do it separately if it's.
Yeah,
I
let's
don't-
do it separately if that's okay.
We haven't done
I
it.
mean, Robert, do you have a comment on it or?
Yeah, I think doing it separately probably makes the most sense at this point.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, and just a quick technical, for some reason, your page numbering is off, so every page indicates it's page 1. So I want to look at that.
That's on me. Sorry about that.
Okay, are there any other council members that would like to speak? No? Rick or Rob, anything, or before I go to public comment?
I just want to thank everybody for their ongoing support and the communication between everybody. I think this has been really done well and well thought out.
Thank you. Okay, Rob? All right.
Yeah, I'd like to say the same thing. I also want to thank Laura for her work that she's been doing
yeah.
on this as well.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, there's same two public speakers for public comment. Maria, start with you again. If you have anything to say, and you're muted, unmute.
Yes. Um, Am I muted?
Now
Hi.
you're on.
No, okay. No, Housing for All strongly supports this. I mean, so often that, when owners have failed to make repairs and the building's been closed, the tenants end up in shelter, and it's, emotionally and physically very disruptive. And I think that, this, by getting the repairs done and giving the chief building inspector officer the authority to do that, I think it will mean that less buildings will have to be closed. And that will certainly make a big difference for our neighborhoods. So we thank you for this. We think it's an important piece of legislation.
Thank you for all your help over the years, Maria. Marshall
you.
Miller. Marshall, you there? I know you're driving. I don't want to distract you driving.
Sorry, I'm good. I have no further comment on this. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sonia, did you want to, was there any other comments from anybody sitting there yet? Before I'm calling for a motion, Sonia, did you want to make the motion at this time, you said?
Yep, I motion to move local law H out of committee with a favorable recommendation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's report out of committee with five votes. And with a favorable recommendation, will go in front of us on the next meeting, which is a week from today, I believe. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight. And members, I'm asking them to reply to Danielle. She's trying to set up a meeting for the big one there, which is local law F.
F.
And I think we're shooting for the 28th now. I mean, primaries will be over by then, and maybe we'll have a little more time for a good discussion. So
So that one's going to be the 28th of June.
we're trying that, right, Danielle?
Yes, I'm waiting on the, excuse me, the amendments too for local law F so that I can include that in the meeting notice.
Okay.
So,
Let's go, Sonia. You have your hand up?
Just a quick question. Are we looking to package all three, or are we just going to move the two on Monday and then good cause after the fact?
You know, it's up to the sponsors. I mean,
I-
at one time they
I
want-
think the goal was to have them as a package.
it was, but I don't know,
'cause-
some people might want them passed before the primary. I don't know.
I spoke to the administration about if it was okay at this time, at this period. I think we could pass them separate. It was the intent to do it all together, but because so much time has lapsed and has gone by, it actually doesn't defeat the purpose, but
If that's okay
it
with
doesn't really matter if we
Richard?
pass it.
That would be my recommendation also.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and we do have most of them through. It's just the one that we don't, so we
But
could,
that might
kind of a
change the
package.
most. So, why don't we do that?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, get them ready. That's good. All right, have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. That's it. Everybody have a good night and keep working hard out there, Sonia.
Thank you all again.
Hey, you too.
Thanks.
Thanks.
everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you too, Maria.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right.
Thanks, Danielle.